Hi, good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Today we'll be picking up in the Torah portion, and he went out about Jacob when he has the vision of the ladder, and he goes to Haran, to Laban's house, and gets himself a wife, where Laban tricks him into marrying Leah, and then he oppresses him more for Rachel, and again takes advantage of him because of the blessings um, that Yah poured on Yaakov, which overflowed to Laban. Let's get right into it. It is from Genesis 28:10 to Genesis 32:2. Let me see here. Keep going. All right. And I will be reading from the Hallelujah Scriptures. And don't forget that you can get yourself a free copy of the Hallelujah Scriptures if you go to their website. I'll put it in the description below. And go ahead and fill out the order form for the free standard edition. Mention the channel, and they will gladly send you a free copy of the Hallelujah Scriptures. But I encourage you to give to the organization. They are non-501c3, so they do pay their taxes, and they are ministering to the truly poor, the widows, the orphans, and the reformed prisoner. So if the Most High moves you to give to the organization, I encourage that, and keep this channel in prayer as it grows. I'm thankful for the recent subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey so far, and the best is yet to come. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Genesis 28 to Genesis 32:2, and he went out. And Yaakov went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun was down. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head. And he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and saw a ladder standing on the earth, and its top reached to the Shamayim, and saw messengers of Elohim going up and coming down on it. And see, Yah stood above it and said, I am Yah, Elohim of Abraham, your father, and the Elohim of Yitzchak. The land on which you are lying, I give it to you and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and the south. And all the clans of the earth shall be Bacharuch in you and in your seed. And see, I am with you, and shall guard you wherever you go, and shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. And Yaakov arose from his sleep, and said, Truly, Yah is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid, and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of the Shamayim. And Yaakov rose early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put at his head, put it up as a standing column, and poured oil on top of it. And he called the name of that place Beit El. However, the name of that city had been previously Luz. And Yaakov made a vow, saying, Seeing Elohim is with me, and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat, and a garment to put on, when I have returned to my father's house in peace, and Yah shall be my Elohim, then this stone which I have placed as a standing column shall be Elohim's house, and of all that you give me, I shall certainly give you a tenth. And Yaakov moved on, and came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked and saw a well in the field, and saw 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a large stone was on the well's mouth, and all the flocks would be gathered there. Then they would roll over. Then they would roll the stone from the well's mouth, and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place, on the well's mouth. So Yaakov said to them, "My brothers, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." And he said to them, "Do you know Laban, son of Nahor?" And they said, "We know him." So he said to them, "Is he well?" And they said, "Well, and see, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep." And he said, "See, it is still high day, not the time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep, and go and feed them." But they said, "We are not allowed until all the flocks are gathered together, and they have rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we shall water the sheep." While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. And it came to be, when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. I find this fascinating. Just to pause real quick. I find this fascinating because Eleazar, the servant of Abraham, was led to a well to meet Rebecca, to marry Isaac. And Jacob met Rachel at a well, who would eventually become his second wife. And Yahusha met the lady at the well, and revealed that he was the Mashiach, that he was the Messiah. So I find that fascinating that those kind of events happen, and I can't help but think that Elohim is calling his people to return to the fountain of living water. In the King James, the word well here in the Old Testament could also be translated as springs or a fountain. So I thought that was pretty cool, because he wants to bring his people back and bring them back to him. So I think that'd be cool. I think that's a cool pattern there. Yeah. Okay, verse 11, chapter 29. And Yaakov kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And when Yaakov told Rachel that he was his father's relative, that he was her father's relative, and that he was Ribka's son, she ran and told her father. And it came to be, when Laban heard the report about Yaakov, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. Then he told Laban all these matters. And Laban said to him, "You are indeed my bone and my flesh." And he stayed with him for a month. Then Laban said to Yaakov, "Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for naught? Let me know, what should your wages be?" And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was lovely of form and appearance. And Yaakov loved Rachel. So he said, "Let me serve you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me." So Yaakov served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days, because of the love he had for her. Then Yaakov said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are completed, and let me go into her." And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to be in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to Yaakov, and he went into her. And Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah, as as a female servant. And in the morning it came to be that, see, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? And Laban said, It is not done this way in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, then we give you this one too, for the service which you shall serve with me still another 7 years. And Yaakov did so, and completed her week. Then he gave him his daughter Rachel too, as wife. And Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a female servant. And he also went into Rachel, and he also loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban still another 7 years. And Yah saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, For Yah has looked on my affliction, because now my husband is going to love me. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Because Yah has heard that I am unloved, he gave me this son too. And she called his name Shimon. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Now this time my husband is joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. So his name was called Lewi. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Now I praise Yah. So she called his name Yehudah. And she ceased bearing. And when Rachel saw that she bore Yaakov no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said to Yaakov, Give me children, or else I'm going to die. And Yaakov's displeasure burned against Rachel, and he said, Am I in the place of Elohim, who has withheld from you the fruits of the womb? And she said, See, my female servant Bilhah, go into her, and let her bear over my knees, and let me be built up from her as well. So she gave him Bilhah, her female servant, as wife. And Yaakov went in to her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Yaakov a son. And Rachel said, Elohim has rightly ruled my case, and has also heard my voice, and given me a son. So she called his name Dan. And Rachel's female servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Yaakov a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestling I have wrestled with my sister, and I have overcome. So she called his name Naphtali. And Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, and she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Yaakov as wife. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, What fortune? What fortune? So she called his name Gad. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a second son. And Leah said, I am Baruch, for the daughters shall call me Baruch. So she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found love apples in the field, and brought them to his mother, Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, Please give me some of your son's love apples. But she said to her, Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's love apples too? And Rachel said, Therefore let him lie with you tonight, for your son's love apples. And when Yaakov came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him, and said, Do come in to me, for indeed I have hired you with my son's love apples. And he lay with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Yaakov a fifth son. And Leah said, Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servant to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Yaakov a sixth son. And Leah said, Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived, and bore a son, and said, Elohim has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Yosef, and said, Yah has added to me another son. And it came to be, when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Yaakov said to Laban, Send me on my way, to go to my own place and to my land. Give my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service, which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay, for I have diligently watched that Yah has barach you. For I have diligently watched that Yah has bacharach me for your sake. And he said, Name me your wages, and give it, and I give it. So he said to him, You know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For the little you had before I came has increased greatly, and Yah has bacharach you since my coming. But now, when am I to provide for my own house too? And he said, What do I give you? And Yaakov said, Give me not. If you do this for me, I shall again feed and guard your flocks. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the black ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And these shall be my wages. And my righteousness shall answer for me in time to come, when you come concerning my wages. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, it is stolen if it is with me. And Laban said, See, let it be according to your word. And on that day he put aside the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the black ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he put 3 days' journey between himself and Yaakov fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Yaakov took for himself rods of green poplar, and of the almond and chestnut trees, peeled white stripes in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And he put the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering trough, where the flocks came to drink, and they conceived when they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Yaakov separated the lambs, and made the flocks face toward the streaked, and faced toward the street, and all the black in the flock of Laban. But he put his own flocks by themselves, and did not put them with Laban's flock. And it came to be, whenever the strong ones of the flock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the flocks in the gutter, so they would conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were weak, he did not put them in. So the weak ones were Laban's, and the strong ones Jacob's. Thus the man increased very much, and had many flocks, and female servants, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Jacob would look at the face of Laban, and see that it was not toward him as before. And Yah said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your relatives, and I am with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not toward me as before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me. And you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But Elohim did not allow him to do evil to me. When he said this, the speckled are your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And when he said, the streaked are your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father, and given them to me. And it came to be, at the time when the flocks conceived, that I lifted my eyes, and looked in a dream, and saw the rams, which leaped upon the flocks, were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the messenger of Elohim spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now, and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the El of Beit El, where you anointed the standing column, and where you made a vow to me. Now, rise up, get out of this land, and return to the land of your relatives. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as strangers? For he has sold us, and also entirely consumed our silver. For all the wealth which Elohim has taken from our father are ours and our children's. Now then, do whatever Elohim has told you. So Jacob rose and put his sons and his wives on camels, and he drove off all his flock and all his possessions which he had acquired, his property of the livestock which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Yitzchak in the land of Canaan. And when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the house idols that were her father's. And Jacob stole the heart of Laban the Aramean, because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. And he fled with all that he had. And he rose up and passed over the river, and headed toward the mountains of Gilead. And on the 3rd day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brothers with him, and pursued him for 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream by night Elohim came to Laban the Aramean, and said to him, Guard yourself, that you do not speak to Jacob either good or evil. Then Laban overtook Yaakov. Now Yaakov had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Yaakov, What have you done, that you have stolen my heart, and driven my daughters off like captives, taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and not inform me? And I would have sent you away with joy and songs, with tambourine and lyre. And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have been foolish to do this. It is in the power of my hand to do evil to you, but the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Guard yourself, that you do not speak to Yaakov either good or evil. And now you have gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones? And Yaakov answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, let him not live. In the presence of our brothers, see for yourself what is with me, and take it with you. For Yaakov did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Yaakov's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the house idols, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my master that I am unable to rise before you, for the way of women is with me. And he searched, but did not find the house idols. And Yaakov was wroth, and contended with Laban. And Yaakov answered, and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have searched all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Put it here before my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between the 2 of us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your sheep. That which was torn by beasts I did not bring to you. I myself bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Ah of Yitzchak had been with me, you would now have sent me away empty-handed. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rendered judgment last night. And Laban answered and said to Yaakov, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock, and all that you see is mine. But what shall I do today to these, my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? And now, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me. So Yaakov took a stone, and put it up as a standing column, and Yaakov said to his brothers, Gather stones. And they took stones, and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. And Laban called it Yegar Sachadotha, but Yaakov called it Galed. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between you and me today. That is why its name was called Gal-ed. Also, Mitzpah, because he said, let Yah watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, Elohim is witness between you and me. And Laban said to Yaakov, see this heap, and see the standing column, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this standing column is a witness, that I do not pass beyond this heap to you, and you do not pass beyond this heap and this standing column to me for evil. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, and the Elohim of their father rightly rule between us. And Yaakov swore by the awe of his father Yitzchak. And Yaakov brought an offering on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread, and they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and kissed his sons and daughters, and bachrach them. And Laban left and returned to his place. And Yaakov went on his way, and the messengers of Elohim met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, this is the camp of Elohim. And he called the name of that place Mahanayim. And with that, it concludes this week's Torah portion, and he went out. Next week we'll be picking up in Genesis 32:3, and he sent. I just noticed right here at the end, when they made that covenant, when Laban and Yaakov made the covenant, Laban was trying to mix, like, now I don't know if Nahor is Abraham's father, and I'm not one, like, I know that he was an idol maker, but I also know that he left with Abraham, according to the book of Yashar. So I gotta look into it, but it seems like Laban was trying to mix, like, his mighty ones into the covenant, while Yaakov only swore by one, and that was the awe of Yitzchak, the Elohim of Yitzchak, his father, and of course of Abraham. I'll have to look into that, but the point of that was that we need to be set apart, that we need to not fall into this snare of, oh, we all just worship one God. Like, that's the whole one world system, and that we even have to come out. We got to come out of that, because the call is to come out of her, and to be His people, set apart. We don't worship. We don't all worship one God. That not everyone worships the same God, and it is the Elohim of Yahshar'el that is the one true and living Elohim. His Mashiach is Yahusha, and He is one. But yes, that concludes this week's portion in the Torah. Thank you so much for joining me, and of course, as always, the message remains: repent from transgressing the commandments of Elohim, and believe the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach. Shalom.